एक लाइन पे बैठे ना भाई, एक आधे इधर आधे उधर, ऐसे क्यों बैठे? जा भाई बोल। सच में ना?
Hello. Students who are sitting backside, can you come?
लाइन का आवाज़
Please.
आ रहा है भाई।
Thank you.
नहीं भाई, बराबर है।
Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you all on behalf of Somaiya Vidyavihar. Department heads to come on stage. Thank you. You can all stand for our campus prayer. Now I will request Vice Chancellor Sir to felicitate Mr. Abhishek Ray, and we will have a book release.
Requesting Vice Chancellor Sir, please, and Abhishek to come on stage. Yeah, anyway, in the meantime, I'd like to extend a very, very warm welcome to. It's indeed a privilege to have amidst us today Abhishek Ray ji, who's a music composer, he's a singer, he's a filmmaker, and hold your breath, he is a wildlife enthusiast. And I'm told, I do not know the intricacies of that, but that he has spent all the money that he has made by doing music in films, and he has set up a sanctuary, and he's very heavily into tiger, very deeply and intensely into tiger conservation. He has also composed the anthems the Cheetah anthem, the Tiger anthem, which we'll hopefully play today. Thank you so much, Abhishek ji, for coming here and being with us. It's truly a privilege. And as part of Somaiya Dhwani Chitram, where we are trying to endeavor to create an institute for storytelling and cinematic craft, I think it is only apt that you're here in our midst. So I would now like to invite. He's also an author. So we are releasing a book today by the hands of our very, very beloved and distinguished Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor V.N. Rajshekharan Pillai.
First of all, let me, on my personal behalf and on behalf of this great university, welcome Sri Abhishek Ray, Indian film composer, playback singer, filmmaker, a wildlife enthusiast, as Mr. Narayan mentioned. It is, of course, let me also thank my colleague, Professor Somaiya Ray, for bringing him to this university. I think it was last Monday, Professor Somaiya Ray came to my, Monday or maybe that's a few days ago. He came to my office and then told about this. I said we should bring him into the campus. I think it is also very important to know that our students should know the type of engagements the youngsters and professionals are involved in this country to promote the wildlife and all other activities. Somaiya public lecture, for the knowledge of the speaker, Mr. Ray, is some sort of a general lecture which we conduct for the last 5 years. We invite people from all walks of life who excel in their own areas, and then we invite them to give some sort of an idea of their activities which they are doing. We have very eminent speakers in this series, and it is very important that a topic of this kind is now brought to the knowledge and awareness of the students. When Mr. Somaiya Ray mentioned about this thing, I was not knowing, of course, I'm not in the field, but even then, as a very senior person, I was not knowing about this activity. For example, a 100-acre complex, 300 acre. How much acre? I don't know that. In the Corbett landscape, it's an entire hill. Okay, he's on his own. It is not a public trust or anything. It is completely owned by you, and it is for the benefit of the society. Mr. Abhishek Ray is doing this. Of course, he's a film composer, playback singer, and filmmaker. But in addition to that, he's looking at the human, animal conflict. All these areas are also very, very, very important. He's very much engaged in his activities, and therefore we are fortunate to have him here. I don't want to make a speech here, actually. This is an education institution for the last 8 decades. And I am glad that when this proposal came to me from Professor Somaiya Ray, I mentioned that it has to be conducted by our new film school, the Somaiya Thoni Chitram. So, the Somaiya Thoni Chitram. Yes. Somaiya Thoni Chitram, the film school of the university. Because, of course, you know, many of course, some students may be knowing the meaning of the Thoni Chitram. Do you know? Anybody who doesn't know what is the meaning of the Thoni Chitram? Maybe some of, I think if you do not know, you should ask him. That's very important. He's a professor. He is the head of the institution. Thoni means sound.
There are many students from our class.
Your class, of course, you know. But if there are students who do not know about what is Thoni Chitram, Thoni is the sound. No? Thoni is sound. You can come to the front end. Why should you? Thoni means sound, and Chitram means picture. Image. And that probably that gives the background of everything. All our not only communication for everything, sound and picture, image gives what is that background of everything in the universe. I am glad that this is a first formal activity of the School of Films, Somaiya Thoni Chitram, and let me congratulate and let me introduce those who have not known. But he is very much in the campus. He has been interacting with the school children. He has been interacting with the summer school and winter school children. And he has been, maybe, I don't know whether he has conducted some music performance also here. Probably he's doing this. So I wanted to introduce this particular school also through this activity. I am privileged to release this book, which I have to read it again. And you read it, actually. I have not read it. It's called Bag. It is what is it? It's a conservation story of tigers. Of course, you will say more about it. I don't want to. So I'm extremely glad that we as a university, as an academic institution, we got the opportunity to release that book also here. And I would like to, when a book is released, I would definitely, after 15 days, I will ask how many of you have read that book. Maybe after 15 days or something, you should also just find out this book and try to read it. It's very, very important. Let me once again welcome, and let me say to our That's enough.
As I mentioned earlier, he's a very rare combination of a musician and a tiger enthusiast. And his book is actually called The Inside Story. So we'll begin today's session by playing, with your permission, sir, we'll play the anthem for all of us to listen, and then we can. Yeah, which one do you have, Dave? Okay. Yeah, lights.
That roam the earth since eternity, kissing stars and dust alive, shining like the sun, universal souls, thoughts are free and wide. They are entwined, deeply made alive, custodians of the wild, they're all the guardians of the wild. survival of humanity lies deep in nature's harmony, where every living being is tuned to God's own symphony.
The survival of humanity lies deep in nature's harmony, where every living being is tuned to God's own symphony.
The spirit of oneness, pure and perfect in form, custodians of the wild, they're all the guardians of the wild. They've prowled the earth since eternity, guarding the web of life, rising every time. Let the water roll for the free and wide. They are entwined deeply with her life. Ancient spirits of the wild, they're all the guardians of the wild.
Guardians of the wild. Guardians of our fresh water, clean air, and global climate. International Big Cat Alliance.
Good afternoon, esteemed guests. It's a privilege to be here today in front of you, and we've started this with an anthem that you just saw. And this is the International Big Cat Alliance. I'll start with that because it's something that you just saw. So there are 7 species of big cats found on planet Earth, which you just saw. And you'd be very happy and proud to know that we come from a country. Whenever I have an international concert, wherever I go and perform, I always say, I come from the land of the tiger. So we come from a country which has 5 out of the 7 big cats of the world. So the tiger, the leopard, the snow leopard, the lion and the cheetah are found in India. Apart from the 2 Latin American cats, which are the jaguar and the puma, we have everything else. So India is not just about Bollywood and IPL. India is a global giant when it comes to wildlife. You will be surprised to know that if you've traveled the world, when you travel through most of Europe and Eurasia, the largest land animal that walks this entire part of the globe, Eurasia, for example, is the red fox. People have hunted everything else. Trigger-happy humans have hunted everything else to extinction. There are just some foxes left, and a lot of people, like in Britain, they have entire convoys of horses and hounds, which are fox hunting competitions that happen. So that's pretty much the state of the planet today, where humans have taken over every land and water resource. And we are very fortunate to come from a country which is mega, which is really a giant in terms of wildlife. Now, India is the most populous country in the world. Human population density is extremely high. We just have about 4% of the planet's fresh water. We have 2.1% of the planet's land. And we have more than 18% of the planet's human population. So our entire stress on resources, on fresh water, on land is extremely high, far more than any of the European countries. Yet, we have managed to save almost all of our megafauna very, very effectively. I mean, you name it, we have it. Apart from the big cats, the elephant, the rhino, the wild dog, the wolf, 4 species of bears, 1,350 species of birds. So we are definitely blessed in terms of saving our megafauna, and also because of ancient Vedic values. A large part of this country is vegetarian, and a large part of this country coexists naturally with life forms. So, for example, if you're driving a car on an American highway and you suddenly see a cow on the highway from a distance, people freak out, they lose it. Oh, there's a cow on the highway, you know. So it just tells you that how much in tune with the elements of nature we are from childhood, you know. I mean, we come out on the street with cows and donkeys and dogs and hens and chickens, and all around there are animals, and we effortlessly coexist with them. And that is the basis of Indian wildlife ethos, you know. I mean, this is a country which naturally, from the Vedic times, is naturally aligned to life. So why I say life is because there is nothing called wildlife. You must all understand that wildlife is a very Western term. It's a term coined by the trigger-happy white man, if I may say so. Because the sparrow which sits outside your window and the ant that crawls on your desk is also wildlife. So life that naturally pertains to Mother Earth in any form, which we have not introduced, which was there before us, we have conveniently chosen to call it wildlife. Why? Because then we can have this entire perception that, oh, this is wildlife, this is dangerous, and if it comes out of the forest, please shoot it. Or if it should only be in captivity, in zoos, or in circuses, or museums, or in designated, stipulated places, which we have ensured that if it comes out of it, it's a dangerous animal, it should be shot. That's the way most humans look upon wildlife. That's why we have coined the term wildlife. But wildlife is nothing but life itself. So wherever we are sitting today, and all of us, all the land that we occupy and the resources belong to life before us, life that naturally existed there. So that is the approach to wildlife that we have in India. So I mean, I have been a tiger counter, a tiger leopard tracker for the government since a very early age. And I've counted loads and loads of tigers and leopards on foot. Because in India, we don't have a whole paraphernalia of choppers and helicopters and cars and walkie-talkies to manage wildlife. We do it on foot. We just do it with a lut, with a stick in hand. And on the other hand, there is a bag in which we have a pair of vernier calipers. We have plaster of Paris to take pug marks. And we are out in the field counting tigers. And, you know, if they were really ferocious, dangerous, and so-called, you know, bloodthirsty animals, then I wouldn't be standing in front of you today to narrate this tale. So, right from my childhood years, I've been a tiger tracker. And life took me in a certain direction where I was absolutely crazy about film and music right from my childhood years again. And that became my profession. And after college, I never had to take a job because, you know, my father couldn't force me to take a job because by then I was already well established in film music. And I've done music for a lot of national award-winning cinema. And once I could establish myself doing songs and background scores in films and could manage to get hold of a little bit of money, that is when I wanted to utilize that for my second passion, which was always wildlife. So during one such activity, Tiger Senses activity in the Corbett landscape, the Jim Corbett landscape, which is the tiger capital of India. I stumbled upon a hill which was an agricultural hill where people were practicing agriculture right in the middle of the forest. I mean, it was government revenue land, it was agricultural land. And there were about 13, 14 families who were practicing agriculture and also rearing cattle there. It was fallow land. And because of cut and burn agriculture over the years, the land had lost its fertility and its moisture content, and it was very seriously degraded. Also, the other problem that India is facing all over, especially people from Kerala today will know that man-animal conflict is on the rise. And we have a very strange theory of whenever there is man-animal conflict, capture the animal, put it in a zoo, or in the worst case, kill it. You know, that's how the world operates. But it is important to bring to your notice that there are 8 billion plus humans on planet Earth, and we are adding 1 million humans every 4 days net, not gross. So we are adding 2.5 lakh people net on a finite planet with finite resources, with finite fresh water every day. So when you add 2.5 lakh humans on a finite planet every day, there is bound to be conflict because there is limited water, there is limited fertility, there is limited land. And it is funny that the most populated species on planet Earth, numbering 8 billion plus, decides what should be the numbers of the other wild animals. It's very funny actually that, you know, we probably have about 4,000 tigers in the entire world. 4,000 wild tigers, you know, 75% of the population is in India. India has about 29,000 wild elephants. And India has about 19% of the global population of humans. You know, so it's the most populated species which decides how many numbers of the others should exist on planet Earth. That's what it comes to eventually in man-animal conflict. So in this particular land also, there was a lot of conflict because tigers and leopards were living in the surrounding forests, and it was thick sal forest all around with a water body passing through the land, a mountain brook. Now you cannot explain to the tiger that, you know, you will only eat deer and you will not eat cows. Or you cannot explain to the deer that you will only eat grass and you will not eat wheat and paddy. You cannot explain to the elephant that you will eat bamboo and not sugarcane. It's very foolish to expect that because these are free-ranging creatures of God and they will feed upon things which are edible. So whenever there is agriculture happening in the middle of a forested area, whether it's a coffee plantation in Kerala, whether it's a rubber plantation, whether it's a tea estate, whether it's subsistence farming, whatever, you know, there is bound to be conflict, both with the deer, nilgai, as well as with elephants, tigers, and leopards. So this land, for me, was screaming out to be returned back to the wild. It was originally forest land, it had been converted into agricultural land, and it was a constant source of struggle and conflict in that area. So with whatever little funds I had and with some bank loans and some other ways, I managed to gradually buy that piece of land. And then began the arduous the entire process of rewilding. Now rewilding is a new term for a lot of you maybe, but rewilding is something which is catching up in the planet today. Rewilding means that when you have degraded and devastated a piece of land and you want to return it back to the original state in which it was, that's called rewilding. Mostly when we buy land, we either construct a house or a factory or a farmhouse or some human activity. And most importantly, the first thing we do is to make a wall, an impenetrable fence or a wall which animals cannot cross, which means you have essentially grabbed that resource from wildlife, you know, because when I bought the land, remember this, that I paid another human. Did I pay the bird? No. Did I pay the deer? No. Did I pay the elephant? No. Did I pay anything to the resident tigers and leopards? No. But I automatically expect that none of them will visit my land because it is my land now. It's my name, and I pitched a wall around it, and nobody can enter. So that's how pretty much humans have been functioning worldwide, you know. So the first thing that I did was to start rewilding it and improve the moisture content of the land, plant a lot of endemic trees, not exotic trees, endemic trees, trees that naturally pertain to that area. And once the water body is filled up with rainwater and the rainwater harvesting was successful, that's when set into motion the entire cycle of life, because water is like a magnet for wildlife. And if you know, in our country, most of the water has been monopolized completely by humans. All our rivers, all our lakes are surrounded by human habitations, by human infrastructure. I mean, even in Corbett area, the only river that flows is the Kosi. And on either side of the Kosi, there are either villages or there are resorts and there are walls. So in the summer months, when an elephant herd wants to get to the river, it has to break the wall because it cannot access water. And when the elephant breaks the wall, you say, oh, this is a problem animal, it has gone mad. And you will be also aware that every second day you see there is a tiger which has fallen into a well, or a leopard which has fallen into a well, and the stupid media reports it like, "Arey, baag pani mein gir gaya, tendua kuएं mein gir gaya." Now you must know that these are very, very intelligent and sharp animals, and they have 7 times more vision, more eyesight than us in pitch darkness. So in the dead of the night, on a completely moonless night also, a leopard will see like you see in the evening. So there is no way that a leopard will suddenly fall into a well. It is far too specialized and evolved to do something as stupid as that. The ignorance of the media reports it like that. The leopard is actually so thirsty for a mouthful of water that it has no choice but to dive into the well for satiating its thirst. And then it cannot come out. So that is how things are today. And once the water bodies took shape in Cheetah Bani, you can Google this. My reserve is called Cheetah Bani Wildlife Reserve. SITABANI. So Cheetah Bani, if you write, the first result would be Cheetah Bani Wildlife Reserve. So in the year 2015, when the water bodies had taken form and herds of deer had started coming for water, not just deer, snakes, scorpions, bees, insects, everybody benefits from water. Waterflies, fireflies, frogs. See, the entire ecosystem was set into motion by water. And once the prey species moved in, then naturally the predators would follow. So in 2015, a completely wild Royal Bengal tigress from the surrounding Corbett ecosystem chose my estate to give birth. And that's when she changed things, because before that nobody knew of Cheetah Bani. It was my own inner endeavor and my own inner peace and my effort that I was doing it, but nobody got to know of the area. But when she chose to repose her trust in me and give birth to cubs, when she had the entire national park around her to give birth, but for some reason she chose that area, is when I think that's divine intervention, that you do 1% for nature, and nature does 99% on her own. So when the cubs started growing up in that estate and around my area, that is when an entire international focus and Discovery Channel and BBC, a lot of them got interested, and they wanted to find out what is this private estate in which a wild tiger has given birth. And that set into motion again a next entire chain of events in which Bharat Sarkar jaag gayi, and then later I got Swabhiman Bharat, and then I got the Amazing Indian Award from the Vice President of India. And this year, recently, I got the Forbes Awards for wildlife conservation. But nothing of this would be possible. I would say the entire credit goes to the tigress. I was just the gardener. It was her choice, and when she reposed her trust, that all this happened. If she had not reposed her trust in me and not come and given birth there, nothing like this would have ever happened. So why India is so magical, it's important to dig deeper and go into the roots of this ancient country. Why is there magic in this soil? So if you go back a few million years, this entire triangular piece of land was not a part of the Eurasian landmass. It was a separate entity floating in the sea. So when it started moving northwards, and it eventually collided with the Eurasian plate, when the Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate, which gave rise to the magnificent fold mountains, which we today call the Himalayas. So that collision had a very vast biological effect as well, not just geological, a biological effect, which I would say It opened land routes from Africa, Indo-Malaya, and Eurasia, which is why India sits at the juxtaposition of these varied species that we have. For example, the cheetah, the nilgai, the black buck, the chinkara, the antelopes, they walked in from the African land bridge. The leopard, the tiger, the elephant, these animals walked in from the Malayan land bridge, Indo-Malaya. The wolves, the bears, which are essentially Eurasian species, walked in from the Eurasian land bridge. And then the 1,350 species of birds. So when the three tectonic plates met at the cusp of the Indian subcontinent is when all these creatures of the planet decided to walk in from different land bridges and colonize this country. So which is why India is the only country where you'll find the lion and the tiger together. India is the only country where you'll find the bear, the wolf, and again the big cats living together. India is the only country where you'll find a completely alpine, subalpine ecosystem like the Himalayas, with unique species like the Himalayan brown bear, the snow leopard, the Asiatic black bear, and you will find mangrove species in a swamp like Sundarbans. You have the Bhitarkanika, you have the saltwater crocodiles living there. Then you have the freshwater crocodiles, the muggers living in our rivers. So this kind of variation of flora and fauna and ecosystems is found nowhere else in the world, which is why it's very, very important to be proud to come from this country. There is definitely magic in this land. Now coming to the book, which has just been released by the Union Minister in Delhi. I released this book on 29 July, which is Global Tiger Day. Now Bagh, why Google Books is calling it the real Jungle Book of today, I'll explain that to you, that the original Jungle Book was written in the year 1893 by Rudyard Kipling. It was a great book which described with a lot of interest, in a very interesting manner, the wildlife of India, especially the wildlife of central India, where you have a human child and you have a group of, a pack of wolves, and you have a tiger, you have a bear, and you have elephants, and you have all the magic of the central Indian ecosystem being explained in a very child-friendly manner by Kipling. It was the first experience of the world to have a sneak peek into the deep, dark jungles of this third world country, I mean those years, deep, dark jungles of India. And there is an interesting way in which Americans interpret wildlife in such films and books. They have a very strange habit of humanizing wildlife. So an elephant will speak, a tiger will seek revenge on a human child, which is very, very far from the real nature of a tiger. A tiger is not the kind of animal which will seek revenge on a 4-year-old child. And the kind of plot that was laid out in the Jungle Book is actually a cock and bull story. It may just sound very fascinating and interesting, but it is not the true Jungle Book of India. It is very far from it. No tiger is so full of vengeance and malice that it will come and seek vengeance from a human child. For example, most of the Indian tiger tourism happens on open gypsies. There are open gypsies, there are 6 people sitting there, and there are tigers, wild tigers roaming around. And never does it happen that the tiger just comes and picks out a human from the gypsy and walks away. It is not like that. A tiger is like a saint, it's like a yogi. It eats maybe once in 10 or 15 days. It has Ichha Mrityu. It has a lot of characters, a lot of, more than power, it has a lot of control over its power. The kind of power, the kind of lethal power that a tiger is blessed with. For example, each nail is about 3.5 inches long. It's like a precise surgical blade. So each paw of a tiger has 4 such blades backed by 50 kilograms of muscle. Each canine is 3.5 to 4 inches long, and the 2 canines fit like that. So tiger is weaponized to the core. It is a living tornado. A gypsy with 6 humans on it, clicking photographs, an auntie shouting and children crying and shutters going on and off, and with so much of disturbance. And it's a common thing in Indian reserves to see a tiger sitting in the middle and 30 gypsies surrounding it and hounding it with sound and cameras and cacophonic and noisy humans, and the tiger showing the restraint and the patience to just maintain its ground. So that tiger is actually very, very far from the tiger that was described by Kipling in his book. So I thought it was imperative and important for the world to know the real Jungle Book of India, which is why I came up with Bagh. And you'll be happy to know that Bagh has become a bestseller on Amazon and on Google Books in less than 1.5 months. So maybe here also there is some divine intervention. Maybe the tiger wanted me to come up with the real story of today's tiger and how does a tigress rear its cubs in modern India in a human-dominated landscape, constantly negotiating highways and factories and railway lines and agriculture and lethal threats like poachers and hunters. That's my story. So the protagonist of my story is a man called Jaggu Bavaria, who is a man who comes from a hunting tribe of India. So the Bavarias are very lethal poachers coming from central India, from Madhya Pradesh, Bundelkhand, that area. And their expertise is to kill tigers and leopards. So my protagonist, Jaggu, is born in a family of poachers. And it's a love story set against the backdrop of wildlife crime. So you may not know that wildlife crime is actually the third largest crime in the world by volume. Just after terrorism and drug trafficking, the third largest crime across the planet is wildlife crime. And this is a love story of Jaggu and his childhood sweetheart, Janvi, set against the gory and horrific background of wildlife crime. And the story travels all the way from central India to Kaziranga, which is Assam, and then across the border to Kathmandu, where there are car chases happening in the Kathmandu streets. And there's a man who's selling tiger skins behind the garb of a pet shop in Thamel Street in Kathmandu. And then across the snowy Langpala passes of the Himalayas into Lhasa, which is Tibet Autonomous Area, region, Chinese-occupied Tibet. And how in Lhasa, under the nose of the Chinese army, tigers, leopards, snow leopards, bears, their skins, their fur, their nails, blood, penis, and everything is sold for the international market. So Lhasa is the open market for wildlife trafficking. All that is killed from India is sold there. So this entire syndicate which operates, which involves hitmen, poachers, corrupt politicians, corrupt forest officials, and a whole lot of the Limi tribes of Tibet who make these things cross in yak caravans over the Langpala passes, the ancient passes of the Himalayas. So the book travels all the way from central India to Assam, to Kathmandu, to Lhasa, and it's a hardcore action adventure. There is no element of any gyan in it, because I know that this generation does not really like to be preached. So the book is not preachy at all. It's a hardcore crime thriller, it's an action adventure. And how this poor tribal man goes against his tribe, goes against his past, avenges his past, brings down the whole syndicate of tiger poaching, the tiger mafia, along with the Interpol and the Forest Department, and eventually becomes a true champion of the wild. That is my book. So I sincerely think that the real Jungle Book of today needs to be read by people across the globe, and how wild animals are surviving today in an increasingly human-dominated landscape is a very important thing for people to know. Why? Because I could say I don't really care even if wildlife was to not exist in 20 years from now. It's quite possible because, you know, in the last 50 years, humans have killed more than 73% of the free-ranging wildlife on planet Earth. And that's statistical data. 73% of targeted wildlife populations which have been studied have been decimated in the last 50 years, which is no time at all. So maybe in the next 25 years there will be nothing left, but it's imperative for me to tell you that tiger is the greatest indicator of your fresh water. The tiger is the greatest indicator of your monsoon cycle, your oxygen cycle, your environmental health, and your immediate future, because tigers live in undisturbed habitats. Tigers live in forests from which rivers originate. More than 70% of India's mighty rivers on which all our agriculture depends are coming out of tiger forests. So tiger numbers are the most accurate indicators of the overall health of the Indian subcontinent. And it's needless to say that all our tiger reserves are also sources of clean green dollars, which the tourism gets for us. You know, wildlife tourism is a premium commodity today because the world doesn't have any wildlife left. So tigers, leopards, elephants, wolves, and all our cheetahs, all our mega carnivores, will bring in tons and tons of clean green dollars from across the world. People will visit, they are already visiting, and paying us for what we have. So apart from saving our ecosystem, we are also earning from our wildlife. Wildlife is not a liability. Wildlife is our greatest resource. I'm ready to answer any questions if anybody wants to. Sure, sure. So I have also, apart from the IBCA anthem, the International Big Cat Alliance, which you saw, before we show you this film, this is India's national cheetah anthem. Now why it is important to tell you about this is, we had only one black spot in our conservation ethos, that India had lost the cheetah to colonial hunters. And the last Indian cheetah was killed in the year 1952. So the only Indian species to have been completely wiped from existence was the cheetah. But that has happened to all the countries of Europe, a lot of countries of America. Americans wiped out the wolves. Europe has wiped out bears, have wiped out wolves and a lot of other species. But none of them showed the resilience and the courage to bring it back. All these countries had a lot of resource, a lot of land, but they never chose to bring back the wildlife that they have killed. But we have today shown the resolve to correct the only black spot that we had in our conservation ethos, and that is to bring back the cheetah. And you'll be happy to know that there are 16 Indian-born cheetah cubs now, which are born in India, and they're surviving in India. And within the next 10 years, I can assure you that the cheetah will again roam in most of its erstwhile domain in the Indian subcontinent. So the Indian cheetah relocation is a success story. It is also a precedence for the world that if you've done something evil, if you've done something wrong, if you have made something extinct, extinction means putting a full stop to millions of years of nature's work. So we have shown the courage to correct it. And this anthem will show you that.
चीते की रफ्तार भारत की रफ्तार चले हम बड़े हम चले हम हाँ चीते की रफ्तार भारत की रफ्तार चले हम बड़े हम चले हम है जहां देख ले चले हम बड़े हम चले हम गौर से देख ले प्रगति के साथ यहाँ प्रकृति नवीनता के साथ है धरोहर भी है शास्त्रों के साथ यहाँ शस्त्र भी अमृत काल का है मंत्र भी ऊर्जा है नई है खुद पे यकीन जो खोया था फिर से पाया
चांद तलक है हमारे कदम
सांसों में जज्बा बाजू में दम विश्व गुरु के नक्शे कदम पे
चलती है दुनिया नई उमंग से
चले हम बड़े हम चले हम चीते की रफ्तार भारत की रफ्तार चीते की रफ्तार भारत की रफ्तार चले हम बड़े हम चले हम है जहां देख ले
चीते की रफ्तार, भारत की रफ्तार, नया भारत प्रगति और प्रकृति के साथ।
How often is it that when you listen to somebody speak, रोंगटे खड़े होते हैं? You know? So imagine if, Abhishek ji, what I would like to tell you is that just like the tigress came and blessed Sitamani, I think it is truly a blessing that you came here to us. And अगर हम प्रत्यक्ष देख पाएं वहाँ जाके, तो just imagine if his words can be, if his first-hand words. So you're listening to a speaker who has been doing it first-hand. It's not something that, it is another thing that is written in a book. But if we were to experience this first-hand, then the entire idea of coexistence that he so beautifully spoke about, and it is almost providential that we are having this function here. I have not told it to him yet, that we are having an entire film festival here on the 10th of October called Mai Mati, and where we talk about our earth as our mother. And we're doing it in conjunction with Richa ji is here, with the School of Mass Communication here. And how I wish, he was not available on the 10th, that's why we had his lecture today. But I'm still going to, implore him to come and visit us on that day and be part of that festival, because, I'm listening to him speak for the first time. I've heard his music and everything before, but I think he's it is a very, very rare thing that, we actually get goosebumps when you listen to somebody. So we should all endeavor to go and to, the path that he has shown. It is truly so amazing. I'd like to invite questions that some of you may have to him. Abhishek ji. Oh, chair.
If anyone has any...
No, I'll give you another mic. Get another mic. For him.
This will do. Okay.
So, good afternoon, sir. Very good afternoon to you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. My heartfelt congratulations for the book. I'm Riddhi Singh, and I'd like to ask a question about, you mentioned earlier that you were very involved in your childhood. You used to go out and count tigers?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so could you please, if there's any story, any interesting story, that any encounter with this majestic creature that left a print on you?
There are many actually. Would you like to hear a funny story, or would you like to hear a dangerous story?
A dangerous one.
Okay, so I'll start with the funny then. So my tiger guru, he's no more. He's a very, very well-known man called Dr. G.V. Reddy. Dr. Reddy used to head Ranthambore National Park. So in my first posting to Ranthambore National Park in Rajasthan, he was explaining to me about habits of tigers, and this is what tigers do, this is what they don't do, and don't think they're bloodthirsty, they'll not come and jump on you, they're not that kind of animal. So he was basically putting me in the field with a set of norms and set of information and data. And one morning, we were climbing a plateau, again following a male tiger's pug marks. So a male tiger has rounded fingers, and a tigress will have pointed fingers. So from the pug mark, we can say whether it's a male or a female. So we were following a dominant male, territorial male. And we reached the top of a plateau, and I took out the plaster of Paris and I started making the cast for the imprint. When I was doing that, then Reddy Saab said, Abhishek, tiger aa raha hai. So I got up and I couldn't see. I looked northwards. So from the top of the plateau, a little distance away, I could see gradually walking male tiger coming in our direction. So now when you're on top of a hill, when the animal comes to the base of the hill, you can't see it. When it's far, you can see it. So when it comes to the base, it goes out of sight. So it went out of vision. So I said, Reddy Sahab, wo to chala gaya, kahan gayab ho gaya? When I looked around, he was not there. So G.V. Reddy is a tall man, large man. He disappeared. I said, Arey, kahan chale gaya? And there was a amaltas tree just next to us, not a very large tree, a medium-sized tree, and suddenly I see him on the tree. So he had already climbed. So then he gave me a hand, come up. So I held his hand and I was also pulled up on the same tree. Now, as luck would have been, the tiger didn't come up on the plateau. It decided to move round the plateau and went that way. So it didn't come up. So then we eventually came down from the tree. And that same evening, over a fire, when we were discussing the day's events, I wanted to ask him that, what is all this gyan that you gave me that tiger to kuch karta hi nahi hai? Tiger is a gentleman. Then why did you climb the tree? So eventually I kind of found the words to ask him that, Reddy sahab, you're contradicting yourself. You told me all this and then you climbed the tree because the tiger was coming. So what is the meaning of this? So he said, aapka weight kitna hai? So those years I was even leaner. So I was what 65 kgs. And you are 65 kgs, I am 90 kgs. And the gentleman who was coming is 250 kgs. So it is just respect. So that was his answer, which told me a lot that, do not only go by the book. The forest is like a book itself. Now you have to be on foot, you have to explore the forest, you have to smell the forest, hear the forest, and know the intricacies of the forest, not from a book, but from field knowledge. So field knowledge teaches you things like that. So this is a funny story. Now the dangerous story would be, we used to go out and every 7 days we had to get ration from the neighboring village. So 7 दिनों में हमारा दाल चावल सब खत्म हो जाया करता था. तो एक बार क्या हुआ कि कैंप में 2 ही लोग थे, मैं और एक फॉरेस्ट गार्ड और कुछ फॉरेस्ट वॉचर्स थे. तो वॉचर्स ने हमें बोला कि आप लोग दोनों जाके खंडर गांव से जो है खाना लेके और राशन खत्म हो गया. And that Khandar Gaon from the forest outpost where I was posted in Ranthambore, Lapur, was about a 3.5–4 hours walk. So we started in the morning, went to that Gaon at the edge of Ranthambore National Park. And while doing tiger census, you're only given, very basic food like bajre ki roti, पीली दाल, तो वो खा के आपको करना पड़ता है. दिन में 35–40 किलोमीटर आप टाइगर के पीछे पीछे जा रहे हो. And you get that kind of food which is very basic. So हमारी तो ब्लास्ट हो गई because we went to that गांव और मैंने आइसक्रीम भी खाया और मैंने ये भी खाया वो भी खाया जो बहुत दिनों से नहीं खाया था. खा के फिर सारा राशन वाशन लेके जो है हम लौटने लग गए. शाम से पहले in tiger country you have to reach your destination before sunset. Yeah, so you cannot be loitering around after sunset in tiger country because the tiger's behavior changes once the sun goes down. The predatory instincts come alive. So we were told that hit the camp before sunset. So me and this forest guard, उसका नाम मुरारी था, मुझे अभी भी याद है. So we were trekking. तो मैंने पूछा मुरारी इस रास्ते पे अभी कुछ प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है, मतलब अभी शाम ढलने वाली है. तो बोला सर मुझे तो कोई आइडिया नहीं है. तो बोला क्यों, तुम तो फॉरेस्ट गार्ड हो. तो सर मैं फॉरेस्ट गार्ड नहीं हूँ, मैं तो डेली लेबर हूँ, मुझे तो डेली पैसा मिलता है फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट से, मैं तो डेली लेबर पे आया हूँ. वो थर थर काँप रहा था वो आदमी वैसे ही, बिकॉज ही वॉज नॉट, हिज बॉडी लैंग्वेज वॉज नॉट दैट ऑफ एन एक्सपीरियंस फॉरेस्ट गार्ड. तो मुझे शक हुआ कि ये आदमी ऐसा क्यों है. मैं डेली वेजेस के लिए आता हूँ मैं. तो मुझे लगा कि इसके पास कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है और डर रहा है. और उसने वो टिपिकल राजस्थानी स्टाइल में एक लठ था, उसके लठ के दोनों तरफ 2 पोटलियाँ उसने बांध रखी थी. वो आटा चावल साग सब्जी जो हम लेके आ रहे थे वो ऐसे ही लेके जा रहा था उसको. सो एज लक वुड हैव बीन द लॉन्ग वाइंडिंग रोड took a turn around a cliff, and the moment we took the turn, right ahead of us there was a tigress on the सांबर किल. तो उसने उस सांबर को तभी मारा था और वो इस तरह से वो पैंटिंग कर रही है, उसके दांत से वो खून निकल रहा है, ड्रिपिंग सलाइवा. शी वाज ऑन द सांबर और हम आके दमक गए उस पे बिकॉज वी कुडंट सी हर. इट वाज अ यू टर्न. सो व्हेन वी टुक द टर्न शी वाज वेयर प्रॉब्ली you are sitting right here at this much distance. So we stumbled upon her. और ये जो मुरारी आदमी था जो फॉरेस्ट गार्ड था, गार्ड नहीं था, वो डेली लेबर था बेचारा, वो एकदम घबरा गया और घबरा के उसने ना वो गिरा दिया फॉरेस्ट फ्लोर पे जो उसके कंधे पे था. तो धम से वो सब कुछ गिरा, आटा चावल सब फैल गया फॉरेस्ट फ्लोर पे. एंड दिस हैपेंड इन फ्रंट ऑफ दैट टाइग्रेस हु हैड जस्ट किल्ड. So she was already in that excited mode, and when this happened, then she growled, and she had that, have you ever experienced a tiger's growl? So tiger's growl is earth-shattering. It can throw you down. It can, a single tiger, if it growls, it can send 30 elephants fleeing. That is the power of its voice. So when she growled, I closed my eyes because I could see death within 30 feet. Because, you know, I could smell her. I could see her raw power. I could see the saliva dripping. When I opened my eyes, Murari was running. On the right side, he was running, and the tigress was looking at him and then looking at me, and looking at him and looking at me. And eventually, he started climbing a tree with a lot of effort, but with absolutely no success because वो खचर पचर करके आधा लटक रहा था, आधा झूल रहा था एक पाँव पे इस पे. And the tigress was getting even more agitated seeing all that behavior because I know, you have to at least maintain your calm. I mean, we were taught that when you see a tiger on foot, just become a yogi. There should be no fear and there should be no aggression. And if you maintain that stance, he will go away. And that is very true. I mean, that's how I've experienced tigers all my life. In fact, in front of most wild animals, if you don't have fear and aggression, 99% you'll be safe. The moment you try to run or you try to show aggression, that's when things go wrong. So thankfully now she decided to take a leap in the direction of Murari, and then she realized that my kill is here. So she went back to the kill, sat on the kill, and kept an eye on me. So I was like, जैसे बचपन में हम वो खेलते थे ना वो statue. So the moment I even moved a muscle, she would react, हर एक muscle movement पे वो react कर रही थी. So she had effectively converted me into that statue game. Now if I move a foot also, she was reacting. She had become that hyper because of this clown, So, and he was doing his clowning activities throughout. He was, he was whatever. So then I had to almost like a shadow creep like that. When she was crunching bone, I could hear the crunch of the bone. She was crunching bone. She was tearing the muscle. She was eating within, and I thought it's not the sambar. I thought she's eating me. Internally that was my feeling. And then gradually like that, I retraced my steps. And it was a U-turn. So behind a certain point when I went beyond her visual angle, from there I bolted. I ran and I fetched Murari, and he was wearing a white dhoti, Rajasthani attire, and a white pagdi, and his entire dhoti had become yellow by the time I reached him. So then we went back to camp, and we didn't have any dinner that night because there were no rations. So the next day the forest department sent their jeep with supplies. So there are many such forest stories, which are there. And some of them I've tried to incorporate in this book in a very effortless manner. So the book is here, and the book is on Amazon. So I would request you to have a read. It's a very interesting, fast-moving read.
Thank you, sir. By the way, I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you. When I wrote, I've actually... Yes, Amit Malik. Rajesh Gopal, sir.
What was your overall experience or overall evaluation of their attitude?
Sir, I think that India has some very, very dedicated forest officials, which is why we are where we are today. And for example, Rajesh Gopalji, he is one of the pioneers of today India has 58 tiger reserves. 10 years back, we had 15 reserves less. We started with only 1 tiger reserve. In 1970s, we had 9. So today we have 58 tiger reserves. It is because of the dedication of these people like Rajesh Gopal sir, who keep on increasing more and more forest land into and bringing it into the protection of a tiger reserve. So they're doing very good work. So this book actually I've been writing since a very long time. Last 8 years I've been writing this, but constantly because of my film recordings, I've done music for films like Paan Singh Tomar, Somaiya Vidyavihar Gangster, hardcore commercial Bollywood cinema like Welcome, Welcome Back. So stuff like that. So बीच में मेरे recordings आते रहते हैं, बीच में I have to, these films that you saw right now are also shot by me, apart from the song and the composition, the lyrics. The film, for example, the IBCA film I shot in 9 countries. So there is a lot of disturbance that happens. For writing a book, you need uninterrupted time with only the book. So this year, I decided, especially after I got the Forbes Award, that I thought this is the right year to release this book. Now, I have to just keep my phone off and go into the forest for a couple of months and finish this book. So I set a target of 29 July, which is Global Tiger Day, by when the copy should be across the globe. That was my target. So for 4 months, I was unavailable for Bollywood, and I was locked up at my reserve at Cheetah, and I was finishing the drafting of the book. And eventually, when it came out, then a lot of these people for whom I had done field work, like Amit Malik sir, for whom I counted tigers in Pench in Madhya Pradesh, and then Rajesh Gopalji, for whom I've counted tigers in South India, all of them have written of what they feel about this story. And also a lot of Bollywood people like Jackie Shroff, like Sonu Nigam, like Shan, Kavita Krishnamurti, they've all written about, it's a cinematic book. It takes you to the Himalayas, it gives you the perspective of a Himalayan griffon vulture, how it would look down. So the way I've tried to capture the essence of this book is through the animal's eye, how a tiger would look upon the situation, how a flying vulture would look upon what was happening. So there are perspectives like that, which I think it is a cinematic book, and I would like to make it into a series or a feature film for sure. And the scripts are also ready with me. I hope the book paves its own way and reaches out to filmmakers who will not try to make it into a typical commercial Bollywood masala, because this is not that. Yet it is extremely adventurous, it is very fast moving, it has a lot of action, and it shows a poor man becoming a larger than life hero. So cinematically, it's a very organic film, rooted in the, rooted in tribal India, and also showcases the magnificence of the Indian subcontinent, from the green emerald forests to the brown Deccan to the snowy Himalayas, the variation that we have. So my book, this film will not need expensive sets, it will not need costumes, it will need what we already have.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. I am Dr. Sagar Marathe from Department of Environmental Science. We congratulate you very much on behalf of your book release, and also we thank the Dhwani Chitra for bringing you here, and also of course Paan Ray sir. Thank you, sir. What we have been practicing for last 3 years is we have a field naturalist training, which is available to all the students who are in our program, that is MSc in Environmental Science. And that is the only program in the entire country which offers a unique training like this.
Wow.
So we would like to have you as one of our experts one day if you are available.
Certainly.
Apart from that, I would have one question for you. What advice will you give to all our students, because they are also sitting with me? Just like you are a tiger tracker, we take them to the forest in Madhuban, which is now a tiger reserve, as you might know, Ratapani Wildlife Sanctuary.
Yes. I've worked there also.
Okay, so we give them training over there, and sometimes the exams are taken in Ratapani or in the Satpura Tiger Reserve. So how will you give them advice about moving in a wildlife scenario and becoming a naturalist? Some of them might be having a dream to become like you one day.
Certainly. So one simple advice that I have for everybody is that we need to come out of colonial hangover. We need to come out of things that have been taught to us over the decades. For example, let's look at economics, macro and microeconomics. Rests on a premise that resources on planet Earth are infinite. So economics, the way we know it today, the way we look at GDP, whatever, GDP also rests on the premise that everything is infinite, whereas that is a lie that has been sold to you. Everything is finite. All your mineral resources, your water, your fertility, everything is finite. So we need to plan economics in a manner in which we are not constantly cheating people. Because if you tell people of India we have endless fresh water, then you're lying. And if you have limited number of resources, it's a good idea to burn that resource gradually. Whereas to augment a certain mathematical number like a GDP, if you're constantly burning resources and polluting the planet, that is one thing that we need to put an end to, because it's a wrong information that has been fed to us. So reuse, recycle, and lessen your demands, lessen your footprint on Mother Earth, because tread carefully on Mother Earth. Everything is limited. The other thing I'd like to say is our traditional idea of gardens and lawns. A green lawn might look beautiful as a, reminder of colonial hangover for us, but a green lawn serves no purpose for Mother Earth. Also, before the grass grows, you're chopping it, you're mowing it down. When the grass grows, there's a thistle, there are seeds. Tiny birds feed on those seeds. There are bees, there are pollinators, there are ants, there are insects. Right now, planet Earth is seeing a colossal crash down of the insect population, which is the base of the food chain. So I'd like to say that people who have gardens, even tiny patches, the same idea of rewilding can be applied to gardens also. So when you have a garden running wild with bushes and shrubs and ants and pollinators and bees and frogs walking around, you have a healthy ecosystem. Planet Earth is living through your garden. The moment you wipe it out with a manicured lawn and some rose bushes, you're doing nothing for the planet. You may be reading about tigers, but at your own end, you're doing nothing. Similarly, if you have access to water, the moment you make a swimming pool, again, it's a colossal wastage of fresh water. On the other hand, if you put your resources together to make a small pond, where any flying bird, insect, whatever can come and have a drink, a lotus pond, or anything which looks natural and organic to you and some creature is benefiting from it apart from a human, then you're doing your own thing at rewilding. So I'm saying rewilding need not be buying an entire hill and having tigers come and breed on it. Rewilding can be having an organic garden with beautiful butterflies and bees flitting around. You're doing your job in the larger scheme of life. I will always be afraid of tiger. A tiger is 250 kgs of pure lethal killing machine, armed and weaponized to the core. But जो बाघ से मैंने सीखा है कि आपके पास कितनी शक्ति है, उससे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि आपके पास कितना संयम है. संयम, control is more important than power. And tiger has that written all over its DNA. So you must also know that there comes a day in the life of every tiger and leopard where it realizes that it is not capable of hunting anymore, because for any predator like a tiger or a leopard, its survival depends on how fit it is. It is completely fitness based. The moment it has an injury, the moment it's limping, it will starve. So the moment that happens, that when a tiger realizes that my canines are blunt now, my nails don't have that power, my muscles are not in top condition, it has to eventually start starving, and it realizes that, I'm not capable of hunting anymore. So such a tiger would typically go to the densest part of the forest, find a water body, and start drinking water and lying next to it. अपने तलवे चाटता रहता है, पानी पीता रहता है, तलवे चाटता रहता है, it awaits its death. That is called Ichha Mrityu. Now, Ichha Mrityu is the highest level of self-control which was practiced by ancient sages. Ancient, हमारे जो ऋषि मुनि थे, सबसे मोक्ष प्राप्त जो ऋषि मुनि थे, उनके पास इच्छा मृत्यु थी. Now, when I die or when humans die, we call everybody around our bed, I'm dying, please try and help me, get me medical. We want our entire family around us. When a tiger dies, it dies alone. It gives an invitation to death. So there is a lot to be learned from this magnificent animal. Yes? देखिए, दो प्रश्न है आपके पास. पहला प्रश्न है कि नाम कैसे डिसाइड. नाम, I am personally against naming a wild animal, because again, naming a wild animal is to make it captive, make it a zoo animal. A wild tiger should be left wild. How we distinguish tigers is essentially by their stripe patterns. Like a human fingerprint, we all have unique fingerprints. Every tiger will have a unique stripe pattern on the face, on the tail. तो कैमरा ट्रैप्स में जब हम कैमरा ट्रैप लगाते हैं, उसमें अगर पूंछ आ जाए किसी टाइगर की, तो पूंछ से हम पहचान लेते हैं कि कौन सी टाइगर है, because the rings on the tail will be distinct for every tiger. The stripe pattern is a unique identification.
The person who invented the QR code, he got this basic idea from a tiger.
Quite possible.
Yeah, no, he said
True.
that.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think this can be one of the last questions. Is it okay?
Hello. I'm a student from environmental sciences. I wanted to know, as you said, you started this from a young age. So I wanted to do introduction program
No, come again, please. For Cheetah Bunny, you're saying?
No, to become a counter and to do what you did, what are the licenses or courses?
Actually, I didn't do any course for wildlife. I met with Reddy Saab, and those years they used to take volunteers for tiger counting. So I started as a volunteer. I did not really do any professional course. Yes, no, I had neither of that. I started off as a volunteer, and then the forest taught me in so many ways.
You can try and become the next Murari. Okay, so
This wild animal psychology.
Yes, there are researchers who study animals very closely, but animal psychology, again, it is like you're interpreting it like a human.
When we study, externally study, it may not be correct, of course. But
Yeah, and we also have a way of saying, tigers will behave like this, leopards will behave like this. But each individual also has the same kind of individualistic variation that we have. So humans are different from each other. No? We are all different creatures. So even within a certain species, there is a lot of variation of behavior. The one tiger will be completely different from the other in the way it is. But yeah, there are some certain basic parameters which can be said. Like leopards and tigers have some basic differences which will always stay. Now for me, the leopard is the most intelligent animal, wild animal living in India today. It's very crafty, it's very calculative, and it knows how to coexist with humans. It's a miracle blueprint of nature. I mean, you would be astonished to know that most villages in India have always had leopard populations living around, but living in such a manner that humans don't even realize that there are leopards living here. They live like ghosts. Like under the modern day scenario, leopards are using sugarcane fields with a lot of efficiency. I know of a woman who's studying leopards in the Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra. There's no forest cover there. For 50, 60, 100 kilometers, there is no forest. And yet, there are about 17 leopards living in that area. Villagers don't even know of their presence. They're living like ghosts. So we have drone footage of harvesting happening. When they cut the sugarcane, when they're cutting the sugarcane, the tractors moving into the field. The mother leopard with her 2 cubs, she's moving her cubs to the adjacent field, which will probably be harvested after 3 days. And they operate like ghosts. So in the dead of the night and in darkness, they'll go for dogs, they'll go for pigs, they'll go for free-ranging animals, and they'll avoid humans clinically, and yet make a living. Like we live in a city like Bombay, with Sanjay Gandhi National Park. It's a miracle in itself. It's an island in Bombay which has the highest density of leopards anywhere in the world. So a leopard, Panthera pardus, is a big cat. It is armed, again lethally armed like the tiger. Far more athletic. It can climb, it can do anything with its body. And you have such dangerous animals living in the middle of a mega bustling city like Mumbai. So you have to give that kind of intelligence, attribute that intelligence to the animal, how it's surviving under such hostile conditions. And it's also learned to learn that Homo sapiens is a dangerous species. Just avoid it. Killing a human means nuisance. So it is avoiding that nuisance value and surviving clinically in a city like Bombay. In a city like Bhopal, very few people know that 21 tigers living within the jurisdiction, the municipal jurisdiction of Bhopal, I have counted them. 21 Royal Bengal tigers, wild, free, living in the city limits of Bhopal. So like Ratapani, somebody mentioned, there's a Ratapani corridor, but tigers are moving into Bhopal, they're staying in university campuses. So animals are trying to find a way of coexisting with this human population explosion and trying to somehow become like a ghost on the fringe and survive.
Recently, there have been reports. For example, in Mohali, there is Indian Institute of Science Education and Research Campus. There are, of course, they have students are seeing leopards.
See, leopards are very intelligent.
In Vithura in Trivandrum, they are also seeing. I mean, of course, in the campuses.
Yeah. Because see, these university campuses were originally all forest land.
Yes.
And now they've become large sprawling universities. Even in Bhopal, that's happening. The forest land converted into university campus. Tigers are living on it. And they're, again, very cautiously avoiding human interactions, human. And the thing is, there is a saying that goes, no biomass in nature is wasted. So like street dogs in India is a living biomass, which is proliferating because of human presence. So which is the animal encashing on that biomass? Nature has placed the leopard there. So wherever you have a biomass, nature will put a predator there to take care of that additional biomass. So that's how things are churning out. It's there in my book that India is a magical potpourri of, leopards, tigers, poverty, human density, population, all living together in a magical way.
That is a jungle book.
Yes.
Kya baat hai?
That'll do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's so amazing, Abhishek ji. As a token of our... Huh? Yeah. This is also made at Nareshwari and Samirwadi. The Somaiya University is basically an agricultural enterprise.
Okay.
And it's all made there.
We have forest land in Yadha. It is wonderful. Yeah, please come out.
So you're going to come again and again and again, whenever you invite.
Your students should invite you.
Yeah.
Really wonderful experience.
So thank you all for coming. And as I was, the book is available here for sale, and you can get it autographed. We are going to be quickly going and having a lunch. Those who want can come outside the seminar hall a little bit later.
Purchase 5 copies of this book.
Yeah, we can do that too. So thank you all so much for coming, and thank you to the Somaiya Vidyavihar University, the organizers for this, the Vice Chancellor's office. Thank you all so much. Cheetah, I like this talk.